Imagine this. Marianne Boskovsky thought she'd found everything she ever wanted. A loving husband, 3 beautiful kids to call her own. She was absolutely living the dream. But inside that picture-perfect house, a total nightmare was taking shape, and a deadly secret was about to come out for the second time.
So let's just dive right in, because the real mystery here, the thing that makes you stop and go, wait, what? Is a coincidence so unbelievable it just seems impossible. How could the exact same, very specific tragedy happen to the same man, twice, just a few years apart?
So on the surface, it looked like a terrible accident. Marianne, a wife and a mother, found in the family's new hot tub. Her husband, Tim, he was devastated. He told everyone she had a drinking problem, that a night of overindulgence had just turned fatal. But, well, that was only the story he wanted people to believe. To really get the deception here, we have to go back to the beginning. Back to this whirlwind romance that honestly seemed like it was straight out of a fairy tale. It was a story of 2 people finding exactly what they were looking for, or so it seemed. Okay, so meet Marianne Fullerton. She was this kind, religious woman with a beautiful voice who sang in her church choir. And more than anything else, her friends said her one big dream in life was to have a family of her own. She was just waiting for her Prince Charming to walk through those church doors. And then, one day, he did. Tim Boskovsky was new to the church. He introduced himself as a widower whose wife, Elaine, had tragically drowned a few years before. And he came with a ready-made family of 3 young kids. For Marianne, who wanted to be a mother so badly, it felt like destiny. Now, what's so wild here is just how fast this all happened. I mean, look at this timeline. They meet, they start dating, and bam! Within a single year, they're married. Marianne completely fell for the kids, and right after the wedding, she officially adopts them. For forensic experts looking back on this, it was an immediate red flag. It looked like 2 people rushing to fill a void, not really building a real relationship. But just as quickly as that perfect family was built, the cracks started to show. Behind closed doors, Marianne's dream was crashing into a very different and very deceptive reality that was completely controlled by her new husband. And this, right here, this shows you the absolute core of the conflict. Marianne loved being a mom to Tim's kids, but she still really, really wanted a biological child of her own, to make their family feel truly complete. Tim, though, shut it down. Flat out refused. He told her he'd had a vasectomy and claimed a heart condition made it too risky to reverse. For Marianne, this was just crushing. And as all this tension was building, Tim starts to very carefully craft story. He begins telling friends, family, even people at their church, that Marianne was an alcoholic. He'd put on this whole show of being deeply concerned, saying he was finding empty bottles hidden all over the house. He was laying the groundwork, piece by piece, for a tragedy he was planning himself. But Marianne, she was starting to see the real Tim. While they were on a cruise, she opened up to a friend. She told her about their constant fighting and what she called Tim's nonsense about her drinking. And her confession was just haunting. You think he's so wonderful, but he's not. The perfect image was shattering, and Marianne was starting to realize she was trapped. And all of this brings us right back to that terrible night. After Marianne died, as investigators started digging into what Tim was calling a simple tragic accident, they stumbled onto a pattern that was, well, it was almost unbelievable. The story Tim was telling seemed plausible enough on the surface, right? His wife drank too much, she slipped, she tragically drowned. But one sharp detective just had a gut feeling, and he decided to make a single phone call to the police department back in North Carolina where Tim used to live. And that one call, it changed everything. And this slide right here, it lays out the shocking, chilling truth. Tim Boskovsky's first wife, Elaine, had also drowned in a tub. And what was Tim's story back then? It was exactly the same. He claimed she was an alcoholic who drank too much and had an accident. The odds of this happening to one man twice, an expert later said it was about as likely as 2 of his wives getting struck by lightning. So, with this bombshell, the investigation kicks into high gear. All of a sudden, Tim isn't a grieving husband anymore. He's a potential serial killer. And the evidence against him just starts piling up, one damning piece at a time. So the case against him starts to build, brick by damning brick. First, a new autopsy reveals clear strangulation marks on Marianne's neck. Then, friends remember seeing deep scratch marks on Tim's neck right after she died, obvious signs of a struggle. Police back in North Carolina remembered that the scene of his first wife's death was weirdly dry for a drowning. In fact, that same detective had kept Tim's file on his desk for 4 years, totally convinced he was a murderer. But the real nail in the coffin was Tim's own incredible arrogance. While he's in jail waiting for his trial, Tim just can't help himself. He starts bragging to another inmate. The inmate says to him, "You killed both wives the same way." And Tim's response? It's chilling. He says, "Yeah, that was pretty stupid of me." He wasn't confessing because he felt guilty. He was admitting it out of pure narcissistic pride. So you have to ask why. It wasn't just about the murder. Psychological experts identified Tim as a classic narcissist. He needed to be the hero of his own story. By creating this whole lie about Marianne's alcoholism, he could kill her and still get showered with sympathy. He got to play the role of the brave, long-suffering husband, the hero of a tragedy he wrote himself from start to finish. So with his own confession and a mountain of physical evidence, Tim Bieskoski's story finally came to an end in a court of law. The grieving hero was about to be unmasked as a cold-blooded killer. Tim Bieskoski was found guilty of the first-degree murder of his second wife, Marianne. Then he was tried and found guilty of murdering his first wife, Elaine. He was given 2 consecutive life sentences, a guarantee he would never, ever harm another woman again. In the end, a man who so desperately needed everyone to see him as a hero was revealed to be a monster hiding in plain sight. And it really leaves you with a haunting question. How many other villains are walking among us, disguised as victims, playing the lead role in a tragedy of their own making?